This is Dr. Vaishali and I'm reading from the book Spirit of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Sankaran, chapter number 44, section 4, Materia Medica, lesser used remedy. Introduction. The purpose of this chapter is to focus the reader's attention on the need to be unprejudiced when taking a case. Most of the time, we are tempted to match the patients with one of the remedy we know well. We convince ourselves that the patient must have this or that feeling and therefore require this or that remedy. We are even clever enough to somehow confirm this idea. The main pitfall of homeopathy is to fall into the route of prescribing a specific range of remedy, fitting all his patients into the particular group. The idea of this chapter, therefore, is to show the necessity of keeping an open mind to all the peculiarities, whether mental or physical, and to allow ourselves to see the patient as he is, without fitting him into the particular idea. In doing so, we shall not only expand our materia medica, but it is also a unique opportunity to discover new remedies and to see them work. I am not advocating the prescribing on one or two symptoms, even if they may be peculiar. However, when you do come across something peculiar, you should open your reference book and try to find that exact symptom instead of brushing it aside because it does not fit in with your preconceived idea about the patient's remedy. I hope that the case given here will convince you about the unfulness of opening your book more often, especially your repertories. I must add that probably I shall be one of the biggest beneficiary of the reading this chapter because I see myself falling into the same routine. The mind refuses to move into anything new since it is so easy to stick to the old and familiar. In the case presented here, I am only giving the main characteristic, not the whole case. You can assume that there was nothing very prominent in the case. Case number 1. This is the case of child again of the very small child of age 9 months. He had been brought for constipation and recurrent cough and cold. I observed that he was very restless and could not remain in one position even for a short time. Among the peculiar things about him was that he was very stubborn. If he wanted a particular things, he insisted on having it without delay and would not be satisfied with anything else. He never asked for it softly but would always scream and demand impatiently. Another peculiarity of this child was that he seems to require very little sleep, even though he might have had just 2 hours or 3 hours of a sleep. He was refreshed. He never demanded a food, despite that the fact that he had not been fed for a long time. He would not cry or show hunger in any other way. His sweat stained yellow and was profuse, especially on the head. In the history of the parents, I could not elicit much, except that both the parents were working and in the initial month the child was left alone. From this symptom, I gathered the following rubrics, which were craving for particular things, needs for sleep little, need for food little, desire impatiently many things, dislike its favorite playthings. It is mentioned in synthetic repertory. Demand things with great impatience and shaking. Perspiration staining yellow. From the symptom, I came to the remedy rheum, which worked beautifully. Incidentally, I learned many things about the rheum from this case. The most important of which is that rheum is placed in the materia medica between magnesium carb and the chamomilla. Magnesium carb is the orphan child who demands nothing, who needs little sleep and little food. On the other hand, the chamomilla child is not being given any attention even though his parents are in a house. Rheum is a child who is orphaned sometime and at the other time needs to demand attention. It is like the child whose parents are away for work but are also sometimes present in the house. When they are at home, the child demands their attention. This was more or less the situation of the child. This case taught me something about the situational materia medica of the rheum and the relationship to the other two remedies. Now case number 2.